Hello guys, so I am back soon after the other video because I wanted to make a part 2 of what books I have read and what books you should read. But before that, let me just show you this nut bar. This is like a nut chocolate bar that my parents make at home. And you see my lips moving there and not my face, so that's a bit weird, but just ignore that because you're supposed to be looking at the nut bar. So, yeah. So let me see. I texted my friend once what books I have read and what books she should read. And let me see if I have that. So, one, The Count of Monte Cristo. We already talked about that. This book has everything: history, politics, philosophy, everything. I've already told you all of that. Then there's Great Expectations that I've read. And it was part of our course in GCSE, I think, and it was something that really got my mind racing. That the lady who was in her wedding gown for 20 years and she never got changed, or she never got rid of those clothes or those memories, and she taught her daughter that way to attract men in that way, and that really fascinated me. That's definitely worth checking out. Then we've talked about Tale of Two Cities. Oh, well, Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights is an amazing book. Like, all of the sisters are amazing writers, but Wuthering Heights is the best tragic gothic romance, and it is something extraordinary. Like, I never saw that in her sister's writings. Like, I only read one. I only read Jane Eyre, but Jane Eyre was great. It was interesting, but at the beginning it was kind of stereotypical, and then later on you really were interested in knowing whether she gets together with Rochester, was it? But it was something that wasn't that pulling you. It wasn't pulling you that much. But Wuthering Heights is like a gloomy day, which also makes you kind of nostalgic, and it is relatable, and you don't want that gloomy day to go away for some reason because you are also gloomy. That doesn't even make sense, but it's that feeling of excitement and passionate love, and the feeling that you are one, even if you are in separate bodies. Not that I've ever experienced that feeling, but yeah. And then there's Mayor of Casterbridge. I think I already talked about that. Thomas Hardy writes the best tragedy, the best books based on fate, destiny. Tessa the D'Urberville, another masterpiece, which I never fully understood why it was all about farming and that why there was no story, but maybe I missed something there. To Kill a Mockingbird, a literary classic once again, and Cain and Abel. Oh my God, Cain and Abel. I would compare Cain and Abel to a modern version of Alexander Dumas. Like, really, I would say Jeffrey Archer is a modern version of Alexander Dumas. They are both amazing storytellers. I don't know his politics, Jeffrey Archer's, and I do not know what he stands for, so a lot of people I've talked to were against him, and I never understood that or bothered to understand that. But if you just want a good story, Cain and Abel is the go-to. A good storytelling technique is found in Count of Monte Cristo and in Cain and Abel. Full stop. Kite Runner, everybody knows Kite Runner, like, it's the modern classic. And Thousand Splendid Suns, again, I talked about this, I don't really like it. Pride and Prejudice, Persuasion, Northanger Abbey is like comedy of sorts, humor, a spin on the typical romance, and it makes fun of everything that is stereotypical of romances. So basically, it's kind of self-humor on the part of Jane Austen, and that's a very interesting thing to read. Agatha Christie, Like my grandfather used to have a lot of books of Agatha Christie. He used to love mystery, and I think a lot of them are packed now, like in cartons, because we moved our house. But yeah, this is something that I just got a message. So yeah, this is something that is worth reading if you like mystery. Then Crucible we talked about, Caretaker we talked about, Merchant of Venice. Well, I have a few thoughts on Merchant of Venice. And one of them is that I always felt, I got another message. Sorry guys. So I always felt like it was mocking Judaism or Jews. And that wasn't something particularly likable to me. I always thought that they could have not shown, was it Sherlock? No, not Sherlock. Shylock. I have no idea. But the character who was Jewish, if they could have shown him as less villainish, I would have really loved this book. But this is something that I am a little on the edge on, like, whether I like it or not. Othello, oh my god, Othello. Othello is so fascinating to me. And I know I'm short on vocabulary, but this is the sort of book where you are starting to question your own relationships and whether trust is really something that can be counted upon in moments of distress or in moments of temptation, in terms of being tempted by someone to suspect your wife. And that's why it's so relatable in a way, because it's something that talks about human relationships in a way that we understand as humans, that there can always be misunderstandings that pop up, and if they blow up like they do in Othello, then the grave consequences of that. Okay, so the next book was gifted to me by my very dear teacher, The Overcoat and Other Short Stories by Nikolai Gogol. She was my religious education teacher in GCSE in Ralph Thorsby High School. She's passed away now, unfortunately, from lung cancer, and it was a non-smoking lung cancer, and I really, really, miss those moments with her. And she knew that I loved reading, so she lent me this book, and I returned it to her after reading it. And I admit I didn't read all of it when I returned it, because I was guilty that I wasn't returning it. But the parts I did read were so surreal and imaginative, and I never ever imagined something like that. And I think that's it for books I've read. I may make another part if, and I keep getting messages, so I'm sorry about that. I may make another part about if I remember any more books I've read. But this is something that I would like to keep doing, discussing our favorite books. And what are your favorite books? Like, what do you like to read? Or what are your favorite hobbies? What do you like to do? So I guess I will end here, and adios.